Well, here we are. We are live on this Thursday, the 23rd of April, 2020. It's Joe Rayo and Joe Chaffee on the Joe and Joe Weather Show.
Is it really a Thursday?
Yeah, I know. You
I'm
have
beginning to
to.
lose track.
There are times during the day where you have to sort of double check what day of the week it is. I've been
Yeah,
saying that every day has felt like a Sunday,
yes.
especially when you
Absolutely.
go out and like I did today. I went out and I walked 10.5 miles.
You're really impressing me, Joe. Why don't you do you ever think of getting
Don't
into
be
the marathon?
impressed because I haven't lost an ounce. You would,
Did you ever think about joining the marathon, going into the marathon in
well,
November?
years ago when I used years ago when I used to run, the most I ever ran in one you know outing was uh, was 13 plus miles,
Wow.
and
Yeah.
I remember feeling that high you feel after that run, and I never ever was able to uh, go beyond that. I think I was probably in my 30s when I did it, and
Okay.
that was about two backs and several knees ago. So yeah, I'm not doing that. I'm kind of beyond it. But walking I will do, and it's just that I just kind of went and just kept going and going and going, and I was out for 3 hours. I did a little over 10 miles. Uh,
Wow.
uh, by the way, you saw snowflakes today.
Yes.
I saw. I also saw snowflakes today and some ice pellets. So I guess in lieu of everything that's going on, the only thing that's left is locusts. Because it's either that or I thought maybe just kind of go. We could go through the plagues, okay, and pick out. We could go through well, not the last plague, but the first nine, okay. Flies and fire we can save for summertime. I don't know. I mean, it just seems I can't even put it into words anymore.
I'm concerned about the fact that every up here where I am, every year around Cinco de Mayo, the 5th of May,
Right.
I put out the hummingbird feeders. That's usually when we see our first hummingbirds. And I'm kind of concerned because these are birds that rely upon nice warm weather. They of course migrate down to the tropics. Some of them travel across the Gulf of Mexico into Mexico, and they're going to come back up here. They always come back in early May. And what are they gonna be facing? Are they still gonna be looking at near freezing temperatures at
Well,
night?
they know you have free food. I
But
mean,
yeah,
no. Listen, I'm only half kidding about this. I'm actually quite serious about it. Um, they they communicate somehow with each other to let the group know that, hey, the Rayo house is the house to be.
yeah,
Because I'll tell you what in my neighborhood many years ago. Now it's many years ago, but not too many years ago. Uh, 20 years. I moved into a new development, and when they built that development back in the 80s, it was very customary for the contractors to just basically take all the trees down. So they take all the trees down, they strip the topsoil so that you have to buy the topsoil and plant your own trees. Makes complete sense. They can't do that anymore. But one of the consequences of taking those trees down was for over 20 years, no robins in my neighborhood, in
no,
my particular area where I am, none. You would never see them. They would be elsewhere. They'd be on the next block. They would be down in the other developments, but you did not, no robins at all. And then one year, my wife found a baby robin that had fallen out of the nest, and she brought it home, and we tried to figure out what to do with it. So we started feeding it, and I did a little research, and I took dog food because robins are seed-eating birds except when they're raising young, and then they feast on worms and things, the protein. So I took dog food and I softened it up with water, and then with tweezers we started feeding this baby, and the baby was maybe, I don't know, like a handful of days old. Um, it, it, Lo and behold, we wound up raising that bird to adulthood, and we when it got big, we opened the garage door, so it started to fledge. It taught to fly. It would fly out of the garage and then fly back into its box, and it did that for about a week or so, and then it stopped doing that, and then it hung out in the backyard so that when we would walk out on the deck, you would see this robin would come at you with his wings completely spread out, and he literally would land on my shoulder or on the top of my head or on the top of my wife's head, and we fed it for another 3 or 4 weeks, and then after that, one day the robin was gone. Do you know that starting the next spring and every year since, robins came back to my area and they are everywhere. They are everywhere.
That's great.
So they do, if you watch David Attenborough enough with his series on BBC on Planet Earth, and you see what you see how the animals behave under certain conditions, they figure it out. They figure stuff out.
Well, they've always come back. I have no reason that they're not going to come back. But my concern is that, again, that it's been so chilly and it's going to remain chilly into the first week of May, and you don't want to see these poor little things, freezing.
Oh, they'll be fine. You know what? They're burning. So hummingbirds are actually very fierce predators,
Right.
and
They,
they you're going to give them all that nectar. They're going to get drunk on the nectar and just buzz away. Uh, they'll be fine. And listen, before you know it, the switch will be flipped back on, and it'll just suddenly one day we'll be in the 70s and 80s like it always is.
but it won't be in the 70s and 80s tomorrow. That's for sure.
No, no. In the next 7 days, just pretty much uh, most of the time. I mean, I'm thinking Saturday should be, for the most part, okay, and maybe next Tuesday should be okay, or late Monday into Tuesday should be okay. Otherwise, much of the rest of the time at least through next Wednesday, looks doom and gloom, as I like to put it, like to
Yeah.
call it.
Yes.
It's the doom and gloom pattern.
Well, over the next 4 days, our one good day is going to be, and I'm calling it the pick of the week, and the pick of the weekend will indeed be Saturday. But even on Saturday, Joe, we're going to fall a few degrees short of what is normal for this time of the year now. Normal high around 64, 65. I could see here in the lower Hudson Valley 60 or thereabouts, maybe a 61 or 62, but still a little bit below normal, but that's about as good as it's going to get. Tomorrow, not out of the 40s. And on Sunday, maybe getting into the 50s, but more wet weather. We've got more wet weather tonight, tomorrow, Sunday, a few lingering showers on Monday. What else can I say?
It's just it's an ugly pattern. It's terrible.
Yep.
But what are you supposed to do? It's typical of this time of year. It happens every year. Every year everybody says where's spring, and it's the same. This is how it's always been, especially for those of you who are down near the coast. This is the marine layer. I found some new toys to play with on SPC's website. I mean, they were always here, but I never really took the time to look through them. This is the surface map going out to the next 48 hours, and overlaid on temperatures, so you can at least see a clear setup of what's going on here. Starting with earlier today, this is all the chilly air that's riding through the Northeast because you have higher pressures to the north. And if you notice, up in Canada, it was pretty cold this morning with temperatures in the teens and 20s. But here's your low that is forecast to move into Kentucky and West Virginia. You've got a warm front here. This is Friday morning. You have a low in eastern West Virginia. The isobars are all pushed over to the coast. But you notice here the dark green, not the dark green, but that I guess that's olive green that's over New York City and northern New Jersey and Pennsylvania. That's all 40s. And that is part of the onshore flow in the marine layer, and you notice it doesn't really go very far. Now you do see some 60-degree temperatures pushing into South Jersey, but as we go through the day tomorrow, once the low redevelops and goes out to the east, that onshore flow pushes southward, and temperatures fall back into the 40s in New Jersey and down into Delaware and southern Pennsylvania late in the day tomorrow and into tomorrow night. And then, of course, we move into Saturday. Now, at least for Saturday, we're in between systems. You got this high that builds over the top, and here's your next low that is sitting out in right here, right around Memphis, and it's going to be moving pretty much in similar fashion to what we just had, and this is as far out as this model goes here is 48 hours, but you at least I'm going to start using this tool a bit especially when it comes to severe weather, because then we'll at least get a sense of how the temperatures, how that the warm air when it gets forced northward, that warm tropical air. We could even do the same with dew points. So this is a very good tool. You can link to this, folks, by the way, if you go to spc.noaa.gov. There's a link there on the homepage to take you to all these different tools, including severe weather, of course. We've got the surface map, which we put up here now. In the wintertime, they've got 24-hour snowfall. I'm just going to bring this up just for laughs, and you can see how where the forecast here. They use the HREF, and it's part of the SREF, which we get the plumes from.
Right.
So, pretty interesting stuff. Not raining here yet, but probably will be soon.
Right. I think it's going to be, anytime between about 8 and 11 o'clock this evening. But the heavy stuff, or the steadier stuff, comes our way after midnight tonight. So a little spotty light rainfall here before midnight, but after midnight, we're really going to put it all down. I'm seeing on the radar right now that,
Yeah, it's southern New Jersey, southern Pennsylvania, Maryland, northeastern Virginia, West Virginia. Then it gets a little more showery as you get into the Ohio Valley. And of course, right now we've got some fairly strong thunderstorms moving across southern Georgia and the Florida Panhandle, that's where our severe weather risk is tonight.
right, that's going to keep all the people probably from going to the tattoo parlor tomorrow in Georgia.
Now, I will tell you, just to be fair, because I talked to my daughter about this, and I was watching CNBC this morning, because I usually get up at 6 o'clock and watch Squawk Box from 6 to 9. I think that's probably the best show to get unbiased information, but to get it from a business angle, it's kind of, it's much more balanced in my view. But they talked to actually a couple of store owners down in Georgia, and said one was a haircut place, and another was a restaurant, and they said, we doubt we're going to open up at least for the first 4 or 5 days, because they're talking about how they have to change the way they do business, and and you're right, the massage parlors and the tattoo parlors, very very useful, but look, we'll see what happens. In the meantime, there's enhanced risk in southernmost Georgia. The SBC pulled the risk area down yesterday. It had it all the way up into North Carolina, but this morning they pulled it all the way south and lessened it. And I think the reason for that is because the onshore flow and the high to the north bleeding down some of that cooler air. The warm tropical air is having a much tougher time moving northward. So the risk area is much more limited tonight than what it was being indicated last night.
Well, you can see how the northern part of the marginal zone has that looping curve, kind of like associated with a warm front.
Oh
And
yeah, the wedge.
yeah,
The wedge. Yeah, right in here. That the V shape
right.
right here. This is your wedge, and that's cooler air, cooler marine air that's filtering down from New England down into the Mid-Atlantic states, and that marine air, as we know, is a thunderstorm killer. It's just that yesterday SPC probably had, I think they had the enhanced risk almost, but not quite to where that marginal risk area was. So they had to react to the fact that that cool marine air was far more important.
Right, and we saw that coming from several days ago because, as we pointed out several days ago, there were a number of forecasts for Friday saying highs in the upper 50s to near 60, and just shaking my head and saying there ain't no way that we're going to get anywhere near that if we get that east northeast wind. And indeed, now it doesn't even look like we're going to hit 50 tomorrow. It looks like temperatures in many spots are going to be hard pressed to make it much above the mid 40s with that raw
Totally,
onshore flow.
totally agreed. Two working tornado watches out on the Florida Panhandle to northeastern Florida, to include Jacksonville and southernmost Georgia. And so far today, on SPC's storm report page, we've had wow, we've had 10 tornadoes. Is this? Let me make sure this is today. Today is the 23rd. Yep. 10 tornadoes. They must have had. I looked at this about maybe 2 hours ago. They had only had two tornadoes reported. Now they got 10.
Wow.
77 wind damaging wind reports and 17 reports of hail. Let me bring up Tornado HQ and see what's going on right now. This is tornadohq.com, folks. It's a very good website for severe weather. And you see the current radar. Looks like some very heavy thunderstorms have just passed through Tallahassee. A few severe thunderstorms. Are those severe thunderstorm warnings? Let me see. They must have been. Yeah, these were earlier today, where you see them grayed out. These grayed out boxes. Those are old warnings. So we had a tornado warning expire in Franklin and Wakulla County in Florida, and another tornado warning. These occurred, by the way. One was at 6:43 p.m. Um, and the other was at 6:54 p.m. That's the time that they were issued, Eastern time. And the second one was for Jefferson, Leon Taylor, and Wakulla County in Florida. Those both have expired. Uh, both were severe thunderstorms capable of producing a tornado, so it doesn't say necessarily that a tornado was confirmed. But it's been a busy day here. If you scroll down, you can see all the different watches and warnings. And as always, folks, at it is 7:20 Eastern time. So if you're watching this on a replay, everything is dated. Please go to your local National Weather Service office, forecast office, for the latest weather information regarding severe weather by going to
Did you want me to say something?
yes, no. So if you're going to your local,
You're doing so well on your own. I
you're
figured, like,
you know you're you know well if you want the latest severe weather information from your local National Weather Service office, which you can find by going to
weather.gov.
weather.gov.
Yeah.
Yes,
I don't want to be
exactly.
political about this by saying .gov, but
We always say it every night.
right. Okay. All right.
All right. So I got to bring up the surface map from 18Z, because I think the 21Z may not be out yet. Let's see. Yep, it's out. And pretty solid warm sector here, Joe, across Alabama, Georgia, South Carolina, and into southern North Carolina, with the temperatures, in dew points climbing up through the 60s. And if you head down, the dew points aren't super saturated. I'm noticing that there are some 70 plus dew points down along the coast in Florida, but inland, they're not crazy. Uh,
Right.
Low and mid 60s mostly. So it's not a supercharged atmosphere here, but there's enough here to trigger off some severe weather, as we've seen.
And that juicy air never is going to get anywhere near us. We're just going to remain in that east northeasterly flow. Even on Saturday, Joe, when we had that one, you know, nice day, sunshine, dry conditions. The winds primarily on Saturday are going to be from the north or maybe north northeast. But again, with enough sunshine, that high sun angle, temperatures should manage to make it up to or around 60 degrees. And then we go right back into the gloom again Sunday into the start of next week.
By the way, WPC for the period starting tonight and going through next Thursday. So this takes into account three events. Has the brighter red 3-inch plus rainfall for much of eastern Pennsylvania, all of New Jersey, all of the Hudson Valley, all of Connecticut, Long Island, and southeastern New England. Uh, I don't think that's unreasonable if you're talking about 3 inches or more of rain spread out over three weather systems in the course of a week. I think that's certainly doable.
No, there's no question about it. I mean, we've got tonight and tomorrow's system. We've got the next system on Sunday, and we may have another system to deal with later Wednesday or Thursday of next week. And each one of them has the potential of bringing at least an inch, maybe more. So no question or no reason why the WPC has placed us in that zone of bright red.
Nope, no reason whatsoever. So no, let's let me make that clear because what I mean to say is they did the right thing by putting us in that 3 inch plus rainfall.
Yes,
All right, so you know what? The 10-mile walk is getting to me. I'm a little bit slow on the uptake today. So let's. I'm going to bring up the upper air. And, still, Joe, looking at the upper air from what I saw earlier and taking us through the weekend, I'm just going to roll it back. You start with the deep trough from the other day with our severe weather, of course, and brought down that shot of unreasonably cold air. Now you've got the next two short waves playing through. Here's the one that's for tonight and Friday. Here's the one that's for later Saturday and Sunday. And somewhere back up here is one that's going to be coming down for next week. And here you go for Sunday into Monday. That plays through. And then you got another arm and another trough dives into the east for the latter part of next week. So the pattern still looks pretty active. After that, it looks like that first weekend in May, Joe, we kind of get into a big ridge position here in the east, if you want to believe it. This is around May 4th and 5th. So maybe we're going to see a little bit of a relaxation of that of the primary pattern at least, so that we get a couple of days. We may have to wait till the end of next week and next weekend for this, but there is a bit of a warmer pattern in the cards for a couple of days anyway.
you would like to hope that, and we certainly by then, by the by
We're in
the
May.
by the 4th of May, we certainly could use, because we're really going to go through the next week, in a word, a grim type of weather pattern between the rain and the unseasonably chilly air. Although I think maybe later next week, Joe, we might see temperatures at or above 60, still a little below normal, but better than what we're about to see, tomorrow, for
Well,
example.
the system for the middle of next week looks like there'll be a ridge in between, so that a little ridging in between, so that the low will go to our north, and maybe we'll warm up into the 60s Tuesday into Wednesday ahead of that next cold front. But here's tonight into tomorrow. This low goes by. You see, you get one lead area of rain that moves out, and then you've got the low with the the primary low redevelops to the east. So it takes a little while for the weather conditions to actually improve. You squeeze in that dry period on Saturday, and here comes the next low for later Saturday night and Sunday. Low near Louisville that runs up into eastern Ohio, kind of just redevelops or takes a jump to the east across Pennsylvania and off the New Jersey coast and Long Island Sunday night and Monday. So we get rain. Looks like we'll get one shot of rain Saturday night into Sunday morning, maybe a little bit of a break, and then another round of showers late Sunday night into Monday morning. Then a decent day on Tuesday, and now here comes this next system that goes by across the northern lakes. It looks like a cold front with a fair amount of showers and maybe even a thunderstorm or two for later Wednesday night into Thursday. And then after that, maybe we'll get, like you said, we'll probably see the temperatures at least relax a bit and warm up toward the end of next week. Let's keep our fingers crossed on that, because I'm kind of getting sick and tired of this cold the way it is.
Well, I like to do some work, some yard work on Saturday, and I wanted to do it yesterday, but ain't no way I was going to do it with temperatures in the mid and low 40s and a gusty wind and wind chills in the 30s. But maybe I'll be able to do something on Saturday with less wind, sunshine, and temps getting back up to around 60. I think a lot of people would like to do something on Saturday outside, getting a bit of cabin fever.
Oh yeah, no, I'm exactly. With given the situation we're in, you need to get out. Let me just. I'm going to bring up the teleconnections, Joe, and then we'll just come back full screen and talk for a little bit. The teleconnections as of today. So we've got a positive PNA, ridge in the west, trough in the east. We have a negative NAO right now, which goes neutral over the next couple of days, and then just kind of is slightly positive as making our way through the first week of May. Nothing to really write home about. And the EPO actually goes strongly positive this weekend before it drops to the neutral line and then starts to go negative as we move into the around May 5th, 6th, and 7th. So, I don't see any big clues here from the teleconnections as far as anything, anything major going on. So that at least is a plus.
And again, it's been so long. I'm thinking about the winter that we had and how
Right.
these numbers never really supported anything remotely resembling a winter pattern. And this was one of the warmer winters that we've had. I think it was the sixth warmest winter on record, according to the National Weather Service. And then to see everything just flip as soon as we move into April, and one would hope that we'll be getting out of this eventually when we get into the month of May. Can't even believe that May is going to start next week. This is the last weekend of April, for goodness sake.
I know. Isn't it disgusting?
But
Uh,
again, the way things have been for the last 6 weeks, everything is melding into one. It's like it doesn't really matter if it's a weekend anymore. Every day for a lot of
every day is Sunday. Ooh, by the
people.
way, ooh. Johnny Quest just let me know, and I'm bringing it up. Guess what? Guess what we have?
What do we have?
Well, it's in the eastern Pacific, but it's an area of disorganized shower and thunderstorm activity
Oh no,
several hundred miles south of the southern tip of Baja California, and is associated with a trough of low pressure.
a trout.
A trough. Environmental conditions are favorable for some gradual development as the system moves slowly northwest. But by the end of the weekend, conditions will become less conducive for development. A special tropical weather outlook on this system will be issued by 8 a.m. Pacific Daylight Time Friday or earlier if necessary. Oh my, this is exciting.
We're already starting in, aren't we?
Yeah, might as well. There's not a whole lot happening here. So let's. I'm at nhc.noaa.gov, folks. Let's see if I can pull up a satellite picture here. East and Central Pacific wide. Nope, that's too wide. East Pacific.
And what would be the first name on the list in the Pacific? Do we have it?
We'll have to look it up.
Hmm.
Hold on. You know what? Let me just go to goes. I don't like this. Let's get the goes. All right. So, by the way, here's what our storm system looks like on the water vapor imagery. You can see the tropical air shooting out of the Gulf of Mexico and running up into the southeast, where you're getting that severe weather outbreak, and of course the very dry air behind it in the yellow that's moving across East Texas, and the dry slot that runs up northeast into Mississippi and Tennessee. And you can also pick up the next system that's beginning to come down right behind it. Let me just let's go to Pacific, uh, tropical Pacific, all channels, and let's see if this is far enough south.
Was it Cabo
Oh
San
yeah,
Cabo San Lucas?
yeah, you can see it here on this loop, Joe. It's that big cloud mass that's out there southwest of the southern tip of Baja California. It's way too early The hurricane season in the Pacific does not begin until May 15th, which is about what is that, 7, and then 15. It's 3 weeks away, actually. So, if something pops up here early, it pops up here early. Obviously, it won't be no threat to any land. It'll just get a name out of the way. And you asked the question about the name, so let me just take a look. Let's see if we can get to that name list, because the Pacific name list is different.
Right, obviously.
I'm looking on their website. Records tropical cyclone names. In the East Pacific. Oh, are you sitting down for this?
Okay.
Alvin.
Alvin. Oh, Alvin.
Alvin.
Barbara. Cosme?
Cosme, I think that's how you say it.
Cosme?
Mm-hmm.
Delilah. Oh, Delilah. I listen to her every night on the radio. Delilah.
Yes. Eric. Flossie.
I can remember a couple of Atlantic storms were named Flossie.
Yeah, that back in the 50s. Yeah. And then it got retired because they don't have it anymore. Right. Gil, Henriette, Ivo, Ivo.
Ivo, yeah.
Evo, Juliet, Kiko, Lorena, Mario.
I got a cousin, Mario.
Narda, Octave, Priscilla, Raymond, Sonia, Tico, Velma, Wallace, Xena, XNIA, York, and Zelda.
We don't have any X, Y, and Z's in the Atlantic, do we?
I'm looking at no, they don't. In fact, I'm looking here. There's only 2 X names, XINA and Xavier, XAVIER, and they alternate every other year. Xena, Xavier. Look at you. The Y. York, Yolanda. York, Yolanda. York, Yolanda. And then you've got Zelda, Zeke. Oh, good God.
And for us here in the Atlantic, we have what? We have Andrea and Barry, Chantel.
No. 2020. That was 19.
Oh, that's 2019.
Yeah.
Wait a minute. Hold it, Joe. 2019. Alvin was 2019.
Oh, was it? Oh, my fault. I'm sorry. My apologies. Amanda.
Alvin.
I liked Alvin, though. Well, you can see the list here, folks. If you go to nhc.noaa.gov, it's about names. So we won't go through the whole list again. So Amanda, Boris, Christina, Douglas, and Alida are the first 5. And in the Atlantic, it's Arthur, Bertha, Cristobal, Dolly, and Edward.
Yes.
Edward. Oh, Gonzalo is back this year.
Gonzalo. You remember Gonzalo, the one we had, 6 years ago?
Yeah. Didn't I go over Bermuda?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
And Hannah, we have a Hannah, but we don't have a Barbera.
Oh, you're such a card.
Isaiah's. Josephine. Now, Josephine, I could remember back to 1984, there was a Josephine that looked like it was going to head right for the central Jersey coast and turned away at the last minute.
Yeah. And now that...
Kyle was a long-lasting storm, I think, about 12 years ago, or whatever. In fact, there was even whoever wrote one of the discussions for the Hurricane Center. It was there for like 22 days. Hurricane Kyle or Tropical Storm Kyle, and he started off his discussion by saying, "Staying alive, staying alive."
Yeah. Well, we're back full screen. Let's start off by welcoming the chairman back, who was out sick the last couple of days. I gave him a quick recipe for chicken soup, and his mom made it for him, and he is back on the board. Thanks for hitting Super Chat, Scott. You really didn't have to do that, but thank you anyway. Joe and I, of course, both appreciate that. And somebody else hit Super Chat, Joe. I can't see. But it looks like someone else did. Maybe you can see who it is.
Let me see. So I Robert Russo.
Robert Russo. Thank you so much for hitting Super Chat tonight, for Scott and for Robert. We really, really appreciate it. By the way, the Toms River, New Jersey thunderstorms that went through there, Mount Holly said that while there might have been a rotation in there, it was probably it looks like it was straight line wind damage. They
But
didn't.
there was another system that they said was an F0 tornado.
Where? In
Somewhere
Jersey?
in Jersey, somewhere along the Jersey coast. I think they said it actually came across Barnegat Bay as a water spout, and when it came back on shore, it was determined to be
Let me
an
see.
F0.
I'll bring up Mount Holly's weather service page to see if they have something here. Yeah, they don't have. I'll try to find their public information statement.
And of course, yesterday, at about 5:30, the National Weather Service in New York put out a public information statement about the Gusnado.
Yes, that I saw. Mount Holly, where is their public information? They hide this stuff.
Actually, I think somebody, Joe, put you and I didn't recognize the name, but on Facebook, he actually sent us to the Facebook page of the National Weather Service in Philadelphia or Mount Holly.
I did get a copy of a tweet for that. I believe that
Yeah.
Here it is. I'm seeing the last one. The last public information statement from Mount Holly was from yesterday afternoon. No, from this afternoon. Hold on. Text product selector opens in new window. No, it doesn't. Okay, I'm telling you, your window is not working. Oh, good God. Text products. Let's try it this way.
Whoops.
Here we go. Public information statement. Let's see what they say here. Normandy Beach, New Jersey tornado. Normandy Beach in Ocean County.
Right.
EF0, maximum wind 70 miles an hour, maximum path width 20 yards, path length 4/10 of a mile. No fatalities, no injuries. Waterspout formed over Barnegat Bay between Silver Bay and Kettle Creek. Moved ashore at the Normandy Beach Yacht Club. Oh well,
Right.
really picked a nice place. I don't know if you've been to the Normandy Beach Yacht Club. It's very nice. Several boats and associated trailers were tossed and flipped, with minor damage being reported to at least one home on South Court. This week, tornado may have lifted as it proceeded east across Route 35 and approached the coast just north of Normandy Shores Beach Club. The tornado then became a waterspout as it emerged over the coastal waters, causing little or no additional damage. So,
Okay.
yes, we had a tornado out of it then.
So there was one storm that we thought, well, one storm that brought straight line winds, and the other one did bring enough of a circulation to be categorized a tornado, and also our Gusnado. We had everything with this system on Tuesday.
What's that?
We had everything with this storm on Tuesday.
Yes, we did.
This front, a Gusnado, a tornado, a straight line wind situation. So.
Scott Briller hitting Super Chat a second time. Thank you so much. The first time was for the chicken soup recipe, and now this. So let's get our Briller Jeopardy question of the day. Let's see. He's still got a little bit of nausea, he says, by the way. So
much information, Scott.
On May 14th, 15th, 2017, Mount Washington in
New Hampshire.
New Hampshire had its largest May snowstorm ever. How many inches?
Oh, well, heck, if the Mohonk Mountain House at about 1,200 feet or 1,500 feet, if they could get a mid-May snowstorm of a foot or more, and Mount Washington is what, 6,300 feet up?
Yes.
I'll go. I'll really stick my neck out. I'll say like 18 inches.
33.3.
Wow.
How many hours did it snow in a row, consecutive?
For 33.3 inch snowfall?
Mm-hmm.
Ugh. Why don't we just go with the full 24 hours and be done with it?
38.
38 hours.
38 hours to get 33.3 inches. Well, you figure, it probably snowed lightly for a handful of hours before and lightly for a handful of hours after, and then you had the crux of it that came down in between. So, well, that's pretty much it for tonight. There's just I don't know. It's Thursday. It's been a long week. Yeah, whenever we get severe weather, when we get severe weather here or any kind of busy weather action in our area, it always tires me out for a couple of days afterward. Takes
I know.
us days to get ready for it. Takes us days to get over it, and then the place is a mess while it's going on. It sounds just like when the when Lucy and Ethel have the meeting of the Wednesday afternoon Fine Arts League. As Ricky described it as the Wednesday afternoon Fang and Claw Society.
Will somebody please tell me why MeTV runs I Love Lucy at 6:30 in the morning?
It's a little early for me. Plus,
It is.
it's up against Squawk Box, and I got to watch Squawk Box in the morning on
Anyway,
CNBC.
with major storms and major weather activity, and you can ask my wife this, I always get worked up and stressed out leading up to the actual event. And for me, it's like after it's all over,
No,
oh,
yeah, that's kind of I'm the same way.
yeah,
There's a sense of anticlimactic, uh,
right.
anti excuse me. Yeah, it is. You're coming down. You're crashing. It's uh, you need some days to get over it. Amazing when we used to do this with television on top of everything else.
Now,
I used to get wiped out.
Michael Lazara just posted on the chat board today in 1986, big snowstorm in parts of the east, 10 inches in North Jersey, 12 inches in the 12 plus in the Poconos, only 1 inch fell in Trenton, New Jersey. Why don't I remember that?
Well,
April
if it was in
23rd.
'86, I wasn't here for that, so I was down in New Orleans.
Yeah, but
Oh, you know
I,
what? Why go ahead? I'm going to check on something while you yap. I don't. I don't recall it even remotely. But like I said, I wasn't. I was out of town at the time.
uh, April 23rd, 1986. Yeah, it's a funny thing about that. I remember that there was a big snowstorm on April 23rd, 1967. Why does the mind work like this? I could remember a big snowstorm here in the Hudson Valley in 1967, and I can't remember something that came 20 years later, closer to our time, 1986. And I don't have any memory of that. 1986. Nothing I remember of 1986 was the Mets won the world champion, their last world championship.
By the
But
way,
1986, April 23rd.
today was a record snowfall for LaGuardia. They recorded a trace. Kennedy recorded a trace. um, Islip recorded a trace.
Hmm.
Bridgeport.
Six, we went to see the comet.
Um, you may be right. That may be the reason why I don't remember this.
Oh, okay,
My
there you
wife just,
go.
my wife just mentioned to me, we were leading a tour. We led a tour to South America in April of 1986 to see Halley's Comet.
Hmm.
So maybe we were out of town then.
Well, Newark, I'm just seeing the record snowfall for this date is a tenth of an inch set in 1986.
Hmm.
And they had a trace today. So New York City, Central Park was the only spot today in the New York City area not to record a trace of snow.
Right.
They also had a trace in 1986. I'm just going to check. I'll just check LaGuardia one more time just to see what their 86 was. Also a trace in 1986. So yeah, something must have happened in 1986.
No, very good. Well, thank you, Michael Azera, for bringing that up. Because
Yeah,
apparently the two of us were out of town, and so we don't remember. That's why we don't remember anything about it because we weren't here when this happened.
I'm just going to check Albany's Climo just really fast. Oh no, their record is 2.4 inches in 1954. And I'll check Poughkeepsie really quick. And their record is Oh, on the Climo thing for Poughkeepsie, they don't even report snow as a category.
Oh,
So what's the point? You know, just I'll do Pittsfield, Mass. Pittsfield, Mass doesn't report snow on the Climo group on the Weather Service Climo page. So go figure. All right, so why don't we take tomorrow and Saturday off and come back Sunday morning? Does that work for you?
it works for me just fine.
Yeah, let's take the next 2 days off. I'm kind of wiped out. You know, we did that double live stream the other day. That's just sort of set me back. I'm getting very delicate in my old age. What'd you have for dinner tonight?
What did we have for dinner? We had Vietnamese steak with rice.
What is
And
Vietnamese steak?
this is one of these dinners that come. What is that? What it was called, dear? Vietnamese steak. This is one of those dinners that not Hello Fresh.
Oh, like one of those like they deliver it and you cook it.
Right. You put it
It's
all
all
together.
prepped and
Right. And it was not steaks. It was like chopped meat or whatever in rice with carrots and a whole bunch of other things of you pour on top. And it was better if you ate it with a spoon as opposed to eating it with a fork. But it was
really.
very good.
All
It was a
right.
very good meal.
Well, I had chicken cutlets tonight.
Steak and rice bowl.
Excuse me?
The company is Every Plate,
Every plate
Every
is the name
plate.
of the company.
and it was a Vietnamese steak and rice bowl.
Vietnamese steak and rice bowl.
Oh, okay. Well, very good.
Really good.
We
Good.
had
Good.
chicken cutlets with chicken. Was it easy? Just chicken cutlets with the Caesar salad, and that's it.
Okay.
Easy day. You
Yeah.
know, I had my yogurt with my wheat germ for lunch and bran.
And tomorrow with the fact that tomorrow will be a totally bland, ugly day.
Oh, I got soup. I got soup. The last time I made it, I'm going to reheat it. I got my pastina ready. This total
Okay.
comfort food tomorrow.
All right.
So that's what I'm doing, and I got a roast chicken in the fridge. I got a chicken that I'm gonna make in the oven either tomorrow or Saturday. I haven't figured out which.
And did you watch Perry Masonry last night or
I actually watched the case of the vagabond virgin, believe it or not,
okay.
and she was. Uh, but, and the what was the other one? It's very funny because we're very late now in the series. They look like they're in the last 2 years or the last
Well,
year.
the morning shows are in the last season, season 9, when Perry had that atrocious haircut.
Okay, well,
And the nighttime version is in season 6.
the episodes now are getting the episodes later in the series uh, are a bit more intricate. For example, I watched one last night where a police officer, a rookie police officer, was put on trial for murder. His partner got shot, and then there was a robbery, and it involved this other company, and the woman who ran the company, played, used to also played Darren's mother on Bewitched.
Oh,
So
Andorra?
no, no, not Endora. Darren's mother,
Oh, Darren's mother.
Samantha's
Oh,
mother-in-law.
okay.
I forgot her name. But yeah, what I've noticed is that in the last couple of seasons, the actors seem to kind of be there. Not maybe not every episode, but like every other episode or every fourth episode, you're seeing the same actors just playing different parts, which it doesn't bother me, but it's just I don't know. They just seem to have more of a regular crew with regards to some of the parts that were being played, and also Jeanette Nolan, the actress Jeanette Nolan, uh,
Right.
wound up in quite a few episodes. At times being the murderer, at times being never the victim. But I think there was one episode where she was a murderer, but the other times she was, you know, uh, uh, maybe I think one of them she's on trial, and the other another time, yeah, one she's on trial. And they did an episode. This was kind of interesting, where he goes to East Germany to Berlin, because there's this scientist and his wife, an older man, trying to get his granddaughter, who's like 5 years old. Their daughter was in East Germany. She died, and the East Germans were holding the little girl as bait for him to try to get him back, because he was a scientist, and they wanted, they were trying to recruit him. But it was just interesting because it was a Cold War episode.
Right.
That was around just after the time of the whole thing with the Berlin Wall. So it was pretty interesting.
Right.
That's it.
No. Okay. And the one unfortunate thing is that in the series, in the final year, the ninth year, episode 20 is the color episode.
Right.
But ATV never shows the color episode except on a special occasion. Like they used to have in the month of May, they'd have all the best Perry Mason episodes. They'd call it Perry Mason.
Right.
But I have a feeling they're not going to do that.
No, they're doing Mayberry. It's Mayberry.
Mayberry.
Yes.
Now, that's interesting because for the first time in God knows how many decades, not years, but decades, they're actually going to show Mayberry RFD. That's the one where Andy Griffith slowly worked his way out.
Right, and Ken Berry
was. And Ken Berry came in.
Frank
Basically, it was the same. Basically, it was the same thing.
Right, but with Ken Berry.
I mean, Andy and Opie go away.
Right.
And Ken Berry and his son come in.
Nobody ever had more than one child in those sitcoms.
Right.
Frank Riccio said, "Did Perry Mason ever lose a case?" Actually, he lost. I believe he lost 3 cases, two civil cases, and one episode where it starts off where his client, played by Julie Adams, is found guilty of first-degree murder, and she's sentenced to the gas chamber. And they spend the rest of they spend the episode. He's trying to uncover who the real killer is, which of course to save her from the gas chamber, which of course he does, because he's Perry Mason. And
you know the story about the woman who saw Raymond Burr at the airport, actually took him for Perry Mason, and said. And came up to him and said, "Mr. Mason, you always win every case. How do you do it?" and Raymond Burr said, "Well, madam, you only see the cases I try on Sunday."
Raymond Burr was actually quite a guy, very funny man. And a lot of folks, when you read about the folks that worked with him, it just was a joy to be around. Apparently. That was Frank's case. Okay, I just also saw. I have to address this. Russ LaChapelle is bringing up Agnes Moorehead, as in, Agnes Moorehead was quite the actress, by the way. If you go back, she was nominated 4 times for Best Supporting Actress in her career. And she worked with Orson Welles. She was part of Orson Welles' original theater company, and of course she was in the very beginning of Citizen Kane. But also part of that company was Ray Collins. Here's another Perry Mason connection. But Ray Collins, who played Lieutenant Drag, he also was part of that Orson Welles theater group.
The Mercury Theater.
The Mercury Theater. And, you had Citizen Kane, and you had The Magnificent Ambersons. Those are two of the 2 movies that stand out with regards to Orson Welles. Yeah, so there's your Perry Mason connection with Ray Collins. And Jimmy 132 misses my oranges. The Cara Cara oranges, you're running out of time, because in another couple of weeks they're going to be gone. So make sure you look. If you're going to get them in the supermarket, this is the best time for them, because they're going to disappear very soon.
When I watch Jimmy Kimmel at 11:35, one of the things that my wife does is she cuts a Cara Cara up for herself and also for me, and so we're there with the Cara Cara, just watching TV at 11:30 at night. Can't do without the Cara Cara.
No, you need the Cara Cara.
And by
And
the way, Agnes Moorehead, by the way, goes back in radio. She was Margot Lane on The Shadow, believe it or not. Lamont
wow.
Cranston played The Shadow. She played the role of his girlfriend, Margot Lane, and she was also on probably the most famous radio drama of all time, Sorry, Wrong Number.
Yes.
And she
That's
was
Barbara Stanwyck's movie.
right, and she played that role on radio.
Yes.
So she, of
And and
course,
uh,
then she moved on to become Darren's mother-in-law.
and Frank Riccio mentions the fact that she should have also won an award for her episode in the Twilight Zone that she did.
Right.
There's the where she, she doesn't say anything, and the what how do you describe it? They spaceships come down.
The spaceship comes down.
Right.
They're humans or like human-like creatures, except they're about this big, but you don't see them. But that's how.
Yeah, see, I
Yeah,
kind of thought I took it in reverse. I always thought that the humans that the small humans were actually us, okay, and that they landed on a planet of giant humans
right,
because the giant humans couldn't speak.
right.
That's just kind of how I saw it. All right, well that's enough. Enough. What did we do? Nostalgia, TV nostalgia
Yes.
for the day.
Or as Casey
Um,
would say, nostalgia.
Yes, Timothy Veltman says, I always wanted to meet Marion Lorne. Oh, yeah, Aunt Clara. She was the
Oh, Aunt
best.
Clara. Yeah.
Yeah, she died after, I think, going into the fourth season.
Right.
She died. She was also a favorite, Marion Lorne. If you want to see Marion Lorne playing a kind of a, I don't know if I would call her an evil character because she really wasn't really evil, but let's say she enabled an evil character. Alfred Hitchcock's Strangers on a Train. Marion Lorne plays the mother of his face is right in front of me, and I can't remember the actor's name who's goes up against Farley Granger when they meet on the train, and they sort of make this. Farley Granger didn't take the guy seriously. Farley wanted about Robert Walker. Robert Walker wanted Farley Granger to kill his father, to kill Robert Walker's father, because Robert Walker hated his father, and in return, Robert Walker would kill Farley Granger's wife that he was trying to divorce. But it was one of the conversation on the train was one, it was just sort of you think the guy was just somebody you would have a conversation with somebody who you thought might be a little bit off, so you just sort of humor him and go along with him. But it turns out the guy was taking it seriously. Anyway, Marion Lorne plays Robert Walker's mother, and she basically is one of the reasons why Robert Walker turned out the way he did. The character. Anyway, they always blame the mother anyhow. All right, let's finally wrap it up for the third and final time. We've been saying goodbye for 15 minutes now. Have a great night, everybody. We will see you on Sunday at 11 a.m. Eastern Time on the Joe and Joe Weather Show, the Sunday morning Coffee with Chaffee and Rayo. Okay?
Okay.
Bye-bye.
Or Reservoir.